Skoda's third generation Fabia supplies the efficiency, the technology and the bit of extra class its predecessor was lacking. Practicality and value remain its strongest selling points, but this time round, sense and sensibility aren't the only reasons you might want one.
Let's start with probably the key nugget of information you'll need to know about this third generation Fabia when it comes to the question of driving dynamics. Now, namely the fact that it's 65 kilograms, that's basically the weight of a small adult, lighter than its predecessor. Now, you might expect that to make a little bit of a difference in the way the car drives, and sure enough, it does. Now, if you're familiar with the previous version, you'll find this car turns into corners a bit more sharply, enabling you to make the most of the extra grip delivered by this improved design's wider track. There are two 1 litre MPI Fabia options delivering either 60 or 75 PS. It's better though, we think, to find the small extra premium necessary to graduate up to the derivative we reckon represents the sweet spot in the Fabia lineup, the 1.2 TSI model with 90 PS. Why? Well, this version is just as clean and frugal as the 1 litre poverty spec option, yet is far more flexible in day-to-day use thanks to nearly double the amount of pulling power up front, 160 newton meters of the stuff. Diesel buyers get a choice of 3 versions of the Volkswagen Group's familiar 3-cylinder 1.4 TDI unit. There's an eco-focused Greenline model with 75 PS, the 90 PS variant I'm trying here, and a 105 PS option if you really need a bit more grunt. But we think this 90 PS model will be sufficient for the needs of most. The bottom line is that though driving excitement may be in relatively short supply, there's real maturity in the way this car drives. And if you're thinking of downsizing, you'll probably like it a lot. This third generation Fabia apparently ushers in a fresh era in Skoda design. If so, then with future models we're going to be treated to styling that, as here, is all about sharp angles and bold edging. Where the old model was a little too high and narrow, this one looks far slicker and more modern. As does the profile, a more powerful silhouette and sharp tornado lines, giving this 5-door only body style a much more dynamic feel than was offered by the previous generation model. That's helped by the fact that this time round, the car is 30mm wider and sits 90mm lower. The stretched Polo floor plan is the reason why this car can offer so much more interior space than its direct Super Mini rivals, something that's most obvious when it comes to boot capacity. With this issue, you find the main reason why buyers would choose a Fabia rather than Skoda's smaller Citigo model, which comes with a boot nearly 50% smaller. Now, once you've negotiated a fairly high loading lip, there's a hefty 330 litres of luggage space back here, which is actually 14 litres more than you'd get from a Focus in the next segment up. But do rear seat passengers have to pay for all this cargo capacity? Well, not really. This car was always one of the very few Super Minis in which 3 fully sized adults could just about sit alongside each other, at least for short journeys. It still is. There's plenty of space up front too, especially for elbows and shoulders, and it's easy to find an ideal driving position thanks to reach and rake adjustability for the steering wheel, and there's a height adjustable seat. Now, around this decor panel sits the other main interior change, the addition of this neat infotainment colour touchscreen, delivered in either 5 or 6.5 inch sizes, depending on the trim level you decide upon. Like most modern designs, this third generation Fabia is lighter than its predecessor, offering a significant reduction in curb weight of up to 65 kilograms this time round. As a result of all of this, plus a series of other clever tweaks, the most efficient, eco-minded Greenline model is able to use its 75 PS 3-cylinder 1.4 litre TDI diesel to deliver the kind of running cost returns that might encourage a double take. That's 82 grams per kilometre of CO2 and 88.3 miles per gallon on the combined cycle. That's pretty much as low as it gets for a car without any form of a hybrid system. So, how to sum up? Well, think about the reasons people buy small cars: ease of use, Low running costs, practicality. This one seems to very effectively tick a lot of those boxes, but then the Fabia always has. In its first 2 generations of life, though, this Super Mini lacked something of a spark, that want-one factor, which meant that when it came to developing this Mark III model, Skoda knew they had to somehow build that into the design DNA. You still won't be buying this car to make a fashion statement or to impress the neighbours, and you certainly won't buy it to corner on your door handles. Fabia customers tend to be beyond all of that sort of thing. Instead, in this Skoda, they'll recognise a sensible, state-of-the-art Super Mini in every way fit for purpose in an increasingly demanding modern world. True, the end result may not be the car you always dreamed of owning. It could, though, very well be the one you actually need.